Please join us in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Yeah, make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Okay. Any discussion, any changes? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion's approved. Next item is the minutes for January 27th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for January 27th as presented.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I thought they were fine.
Okay. All right, we'll start with you, go ahead.
I think the first line on the second page would read better if there were a 2 in front of provide. Down about 2/3 of the way in the paragraph that starts, it was noted. The third line ends with theses. I think that's probably supposed to be these.
Where is that, Joe? Just once again.
The 60% of the way down, in the paragraph that starts, it was noted,
There's no, okay, yeah.
and the third line ends in theses.
Oh,
Okay. And that would do it.
Okay, Bob?
I'm good.
Dick?
I'm good.
Zach? All those in favor of the, we get a motion on that?
We did.
Yeah.
We did, okay. All those in favor of the minutes, approval of the minutes with the corrections, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Citizens' comments. Nice to see you here tonight, Laura. We missed you. You could reciprocate, you know, say you get stuff.
Yes.
No citizens' concerns? No. Okay. Move on to the tree warden, quotes for removal of dead trees. Mike?
So we tried to get 3 quotes. We got 2 back, one from Valancourt, one from Trees Incorporated. The third one was Bear Paw, and this is kind of the off-season for them. They didn't want to bid on it, so we have 3. And we've had good luck with both of those entities. But I would recommend we go to Trees Incorporated for $22.15.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
A second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Application to the USDA Community Facilities Program in support of Castleton University Childcare Center. He's not here.
That would be me.
He's not here, Matthew Moriarty, and you're not Matthew.
I'm the designee.
Okay, Laura.
Okay. So basically, the university is applying for a USDA grant through the VSC Foundation. And this grant would be to support the development of our new child care facility as far as equipment. It is a grant for equipment specific. Part of the grant required that there be a public hearing. Therefore, we put it on this agenda so that we could have that requirement met. And so basically, it's a pretty simple $29,000 grant that would be all utilized for equipment purchases.
Any questions, gentlemen?
Just one, Laura. Do we need to actually do anything as a town or a board
No.
to help you out other than say hello?
It just gave us a forum to have our public hearing in case anybody wanted to. We warned it, and this would be the spot where they could have come and asked questions.
Well, for the record, I think it's a great idea, and thank you for your efforts, and thank whoever the appropriate staff is.
Thank you. Yes, we're working at it. It's coming along nicely. So we're excited.
Any other comments on it?
Laura, when you say equipment, what are you talking equipment?
We're talking cribs and playpens and all the stuff that a
Oh, so you're
child
gonna be
care.
watching infants, not 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds?
We're gonna be from birth to 4 years old.
Wow, okay.
Babies and toddlers. Babies and toddlers.
Infant and toddlers, that's correct.
No, I'm not going to say anything, Joe, you go ahead.
No, been there, done that.
Just for my own curiosity, when do you hope to start?
Well, our plan is hopefully in the fall. By the fall, we should be ready to go. We have a director on board for the Child Care Center. And, you know, there's just a lot of little steps along the way still with the construction and some of the environmental things that have to be done first. So if everything goes as planned, late summer, early fall.
And will that be in the former president's home? Okay.
Now, that's open to the public, or is it just,
Rutland County, anybody?
and what's the, I mean, there's gonna be obviously a charge involved?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Any idea of it?
No, I do not, at this point, we do not have all of that worked out yet.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Laura.
Welcome. Thank you.
Castleton Free Library, Planning Grant, Vermont Community Development Program for Handicapped Access. Nancy?
Yes. I wanted to let the Select Board know, I've spoken with Mike a bit about this, that the library, I'm happy to report, is anticipating applying for a grant through the Vermont Community Development Program. And this would be for early information regarding helping us pursue handicapped access in the library. And I can tell you exactly what how the grant discusses what this would do. The Vermont Community Development Program addresses public facilities, public services, handicapped access, and, you know, more specifically, especially for our case, would a planning grant funds would allow communities access to technical expertise, that's always helpful, and professional resources related to our ideas, propose strategies, develop plans, establish policies and procedures. So our intention would be to use this to work with an architect to give us some very specific early ideas and, of course, payment for our pursuing one particular architect. We haven't discussed an architect at this point, but this is a grant that would come to the town and then to the library through the town. So I need to inform you of it and, of course, get your permission.
Any questions for Nancy? Guess not, Nancy.
Wow.
Not yet.
Not yet. And that's a good, I'm glad you said that, Dick. We will, of course, keep you informed. I think one of the good things, I'll just say, really important things about this is that this will involve a public forum in order for us to pursue this. And I think this is something that is important for the library, important for our community, and would really, I think, add a lot of information and a lot of community involvement as well.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen? No? Thank you very much, Nancy.
You're welcome, and thank
Hey,
you.
Jim, can I change my mind? I got one or two more questions for Nancy. Simple ones.
I was going to get by on that one.
Change your mind.
Go ahead, Dick.
Wait.
Just, have you got like a planning committee or something, or is just your library board of trustees is doing this, or?
It's a great question. So, the library board is actually the governing body, but your question is important because this will also involve, in terms of support, members of the Friends of the Library, their steering committee. And the Friends of the Library, you might have read, has received a significant contribution from the Denise Nangle Trust. And their Friends of the Library have definitely expressed their support for this project. So that has certainly invigorated what has been fairly long-term hope that we would be able to install handicapped access to the main floor. But having certainly those funds, as well as looking at grants, et cetera, is something that I think is So I think that answers your question. I
Yeah,
hope.
Jan and I talked about this off and on over the years, and then you and I as recently as a year ago. And I'd love to see it happen, so
Yes,
let me know if there's anything that I can do, to come and sit and give you ideas, or just stay out of the way or whatever, let me know.
nobody should stay out of the way. We look forward to your input, and that will be an important part
No.
of the process.
Okay, anything else for Nancy?
I do have something for you, Mike. I might as well just give it to you now. We talked about memorandum of understanding between the library and the board, and those are only samples. So it's something that we can look at. I think you asked for that.
And I did attend that meeting the other night.
Yes,
And,
that I was sorry we couldn't go, but I have the notes from it, and I'll look forward to
It was worthwhile.
getting your assistance with that. Thank you very much.
I'm all set now, Jim, thank you.
Everybody? No? Zach? All set? Okay, move on to liquor license approval. Second-class license for Harbor View and Jiffy Mart. I assume the chief has reviewed these, Mike?
This one right here, Jim, I don't know if he's reviewed or not.
Both of them?
I'm not sure of either one, if he has reviewed them. I haven't seen him to talk to him about it.
I don't recall there being any issues with either.
I don't think either one of them had their
No, I don't think there is.
privileges or rights or whatever you want to call it revoked.
I've received nothing from the state advising that they had any violations, or I get those copies of that if they've sold to minors or stuff like that, and I've received nothing from
I
either.
think Jiffy Mart may have possibly gotten in trouble like 5 years ago or 8 years ago, and Harbor View never, so I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the second-class liquor license to sell malt and vinous beverages to Harbor View General Store.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll make another motion to approve a second-class liquor license to sell malt and vinous beverages to Jiffy Mart, or to Global Montello Group Corporation, doing business as Jiffy Mart number 454.
Second, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Have to sign these, guys.
We're even signing the right ones this time. Super.
Okay, moving on. Law enforcement contract between the town of Castleton and Slate Valley Unified School District. Mike?
This is the updated contract. Just really not a lot of changes besides dollar figures from last year. I just want to bring this up so the board knows that at the end of the contract last year, there was about 12 grand left over. And it's my understanding that the school did not want that back. So it stayed in the coffers. The issue is, through our auditor, it can't be carried over, it can't be set aside, so it would go back into the general fund. And the chief's been using some of it to purchase clothing for the officers. So whether in the school they have a polo rather than their full regalia. So that we're working the details of that out, what it can be used for, because it doesn't say in here it can be used for clothing. It says equipment. So it's just something that we need to get refined, but as far as overall, we didn't go over budget. We were certainly under budget with it. Just need to get some clarification on proper use of that money, if there's anything left over. So I'll get back to you guys by the next meeting with that. But for right now, that contract, I would say I would have no reservation signing it, so what we did last year, just a dollar amount change.
What was the dollar amount last year?
No, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't.
Well, is there an explanation as to why there was 12,000 left over? Is there 2 or 3 weeks it didn't get covered, Mike, or?
Well, I think that some of it was an over budget, planning for the worst, but the best happened, so a number of hours. So the schools isn't look for the money back.
Why is that?
That's what I need to talk to Brooke about, is why they don't want the money back.
Or at least put it towards this year's amount.
Yeah. So I owe you an answer on that, but as far as the contract with them, I think we have to work out what if the money's left over, but as far as the contract itself goes, it is for 40 hours.
40 hours a week during the school year.
Yeah.
And is
And
Justin going to be the SRO again, or does it change week to week?
If what?
Is Justin going to be the SRO
No, there's
again? or is it
5.
gonna change?
They
Oh,
have-
okay,
They do. They rotate.
gotcha.
So, but as far as it is a 40-hour-a-week contract based upon the salaries paid to the officers and the equipment. So I'll get to the bottom of the 12,000. It just got brought to my attention by Pete last week, so I have to.
You have till the end of the fiscal year to resolve that anyways, right?
Correct.
Any other questions for Mike? Joe?
Is this, Mike, based on last year's amount? So this is an adjustment, given the new union contract and/or inflation, based on that amount?
Yes, this takes into account the union raises.
Right, but I mean, the adjustments are based on the previous contract amount, which was underspent by 12,000.
Right.
And I assume that means that Brooke thinks that maybe this year we will need to use it all.
I think that's what the chief believes because of the increases, the wages and stuff like that, but he used numbers that are based upon what they pay the officer because they're not getting their normal pay rate.
Mm.
So it kind of doesn't play into what they're actually getting in their normal shifts because it's a higher rate.
Who sets the rate?
That's something that was worked out between, last year between the chief, myself, and Brooke.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve the law enforcement contract between the town of Castleton and the Slate Valley Union School District for August 30th, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 in the amount of $75,296.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all you do.
Those opposed? I guess I'm the only one that has to sign this. Probably signing my life away here.
No, just $75,000 of taxpayers' money, or no, school board taxpayer money.
Yeah.
It's odd they don't want the $12,000.
That kind of irritates me or bothers me, yeah. If it's not their money, it's our money,
Oh, yeah,
you know?
sure it is.
I mean, if this
Well,
was,
that's what, it got brought up that way. I said, as a taxpayer, why is it there? And so why, if there's something left over, why doesn't it go back to the school budget? But
Or go
again,
towards this year's contract, I mean, that only makes sense, I mean.
I haven't talked to Brooke yet, so I don't know how their fiscal boundaries work, so I will get an answer from them.
I mean, do they do that with other vendors if they,
I haven't spoken to her yet, so I
I
don't
mean,
know.
that just doesn't make any sense.
There's a lot of questions, so
Yeah.
if you have any questions, please send them to me and I will bring them up as well.
Well, that's the biggest one right
I
there.
do know that municipal accounting is totally different than business accounting, which may be, once again, different than educational accounting. I don't know about that.
I will
I do know municipal is
get an
different
answer.
than if you were running some other business.
Okay,
Doesn't make it right, Dick.
so we move on. Mike's
saying
going
it is
to,
right.
Mike's
Well,
going to
I'm
find the
saying
answer to that.
Kind of making an excuse.
Move on to the net metering agreement. Mike?
So this is a net metering agreement through Green Lantern Solar Incorporated. This one does not have a current array assigned to it like we have with Royalton. They'll assign it. But this, what this does is the remaining electricity costs for the sewer plant, for the wastewater treatment facility, that we couldn't cover under that 150 kilowatt array, this will cover. So it's basically another $2,939 reduction in our electrical costs for a total altogether, both arrays, $8,855. And I sent you guys a bunch of information that talked about last year's production for calendar year 2019. So we saved $5,916, which was slightly above what they projected by $85. But there was explained in here that the spring was, it was a cloudy, they had a lot of cloudy periods and snow, so the spring didn't generate as much as they thought, and then the early part of the year, I should say, and then obviously the rest of the summer kicked it in, so we ended up $85 to the good. But it's $85 that we don't have to pay. So this one is just another agreement that I put them side by side. There's the nuts and bolts of it are all the same. It's just it's not from this array, and the amount per net metering credit's lower. It goes down every year, set by the energy. It's in there. I forgot the term of it.
Public Service
Public
Board.
Service Board. Thank you. And every year it's going to keep going down. That's just the way it's trending because of the amount of solar that's being pushed into the grid. So those that got onto it early on, like right before we did, got a really good rate. We were able to push it a penny more than they originally offered us last time, but I asked this time and there was no wiggle room on that one. So there it is for just $2,900 and something dollars. Additional savings on net metering is what this would net us.
So do you recommend we sign this?
I do. There's no risk to the town. It's not on any of our property. It's not going to affect our enhanced energy plan or anything else. This is in someone else's
We're
backyard.
signing this,
What's that?
we're signing this, the actual agreement.
Just one copy, just the,
Okay.
Is there a motion?
For the sake of discussion, I would move that we sign this document that Mike has presented from Green Mountain Solar. I'm sorry, Green Lantern
Solar Incorporated.
Solar Incorporated.
Second.
Any discussion? Joe?
I had a question for Mike, which is that you mentioned that the Public Utility Commission is continuously lowering the discount rate. If we sign this contract, do we lock in the 10%?
That's correct.
And the other point I wanted to raise is I think a typo in the document on Exhibit B, the third page from the end. The second paragraph references 95% and then has a parenthetical 90% behind it. I assume that the 95% is incorrect.
That it is, in his emails and showing there, he puts the 90% in there, showing that's up to what we can actually put against. There's things against the bill that we can't offset with net metering credits that are federal tax type things that we can't offset. So that's why they say 90% is as high as we can get to.
My point is they don't say 90%
Right.
consistently. I think that needs to be corrected.
Can we correct it and initial it?
Yep.
If you vote favorably to accept it. Any other questions, discussion on it?
Yeah.
Zach?
Section 14, about middle of the agreement. Section 14, subsection B, termination rights. System owner shall have the right but not the obligation to terminate this agreement upon 30 prior written notice to customer. That probably means 30 days, but probably should have that in writing before we sign it. And my other question is regarding exclusivity. I saw that clause in there again.
Yep.
Who else are we buying net metering credits from? Is it just Green Lantern?
Mhm.
Okay, and this is gonna be it from, this is gonna be all we're purchasing in the form of net metering credits, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Like it's all of our
So then we-
meters that we can.
So then, my point is, we don't have to worry about that exclusivity. Okay, okay. And that's all I got.
Okay.
I would recommend that if
Works
you
well.
would say, rather than put off signing it, if you stipulate that it's 30 days.
Right.
You know, and I can have that, I'm assuming that Sam Carlson would certainly either write that or change the page, if whatever we so desire.
Well, probably should write that in, initial it, and then we'll sign it, and then Sam can do whatever he wants.
Right.
Is that okay?
I'm okay with that.
You okay with that, Mark? Okay. Okay, I'll call the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Those changes, Mike?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, on this one, it has only one place to sign. Last year, you guys made a motion to have me sign it as a representative of the town. So if you want that, then that way I can not sign this one right now, and I can get the corrections and.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Thank you.
Manager's update. You're up again, Mike.
Mr. Chairman, could I just make a comment? I found it very helpful, Mike, that Mr. Carlson provided this kind of cheat sheet on the changes that have been made. You can thank him for me.
I will do that. Thank you. And then he also provided that, I thought was a good tool, if anybody asked, was the breakdown by month of, and the
I
total
saw that
we
and I like
saved.
that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make my note to thank Sam. Right. So on this report, I don't know if you have any questions on the first page. There's nothing that I asked for on that. Except for, when it bleeds over, the last one bleeds over. It says, request the board to approve net metering agreement, which you just did, so that one's good to go, minus the initials. Then, on
Question
number
about the
4.
first page?
What's that?
I have a question about the first
Oh,
page, if
yeah.
I may.
Sure.
The transfer station section, and particularly the point about food composting, makes me wonder what information campaign will be rolled out between now and the date that goes into effect, because I suspect that at least a fair number of our residents will be taken by surprise.
Correct, that's a good point. So I met with Carl Diethlum from Rutland County Solid Waste, and Chris at the transfer station following this meeting at the university, and he brought a bunch of literature up there for residents on composting. We got some stuff here that we'll bring to town meeting day that we're going to distribute. So there will be both a social media campaign as well as the meeting, the town meeting, and then Chris will have stuff posted up there as well. Because it will catch, there will be some questions, there'll be a lot of questions probably. And right now, talking with them, they're getting poised, they're not poised yet to answer all these questions, but they're certainly moving toward that now. The Rutland County Solid Waste District.
I know you've been doing a good job with putting out information on Front Porch Forum, but I assume in this case, since Front Porch Forum serves the state, they may also have some generic messages that they'll be putting out for everyone.
I think they already put one out a while ago. I can confirm it if you'd like, but I think that they put one, Dean Wilson had put one out about, composting starting 1 July. for household food scraps and stuff. I don't know if you have any questions on what I met with Andy and Carl about, and a couple of members of facilities, Randy and Jake. But there is I'll give you the kind of 30-second thing is, and then whatever questions I hope I can answer. Castleton University was looking into, they talked about a dehydrator for food scraps that would take 250 pounds of food scraps at a time, dehydrate it down to about 25 pounds of material that is sterile organic waste, and then how to get rid of that. So what I met with them about was how can, look at their struggles and what they're trying to do, look at what the town may have to do and say, is there a way to collaborate with the town to include the schools, the elementary school and the village school, to look at these way to get the food scraps out of the solid waste stream and come up with a way that it can be utilized. And part of that utilization could be turning it into topsoil, rotating it through and turning it into topsoil, and so we could use it and the public could use it as well. So there's a permit stuff that we got to look at, but Andy and I are going to make a phone call to a guy named James up at DEC to get more information.
Anything else on page 1? Back to 2.
Number 4, sidewalk projects. So the easements, I think I told you guys already, but I met with Kevin Mulholland, and he's willing to sign an agreement, even if this has to, digging up the water line has to wait until spring so that we can move forward with this. But like I said last year, I went back and looked at minutes of the meetings, but to make this work, we have to apply for the bike and pedestrian grant, which is a 20% match, which is money's been set aside for that anyway. So it's not a money issue, it's a approval issue for me to go ahead and start working with V-Trans on this bike and pedestrian grant when it opens up in April. Because if we don't get that money, we're not going to be able to finish the project, and that was said last year. I'd like just your permission to be able to start really working with V-Trans and start looking at the cost, some of these cost stuff, and start the process of the application. It's not due yet, so, but I don't want to wait till the nth hour and to try to pull us together.
Do you just need a consensus, or do you need a motion?
However you guys want to, it has to be done to move the project forward. So if we choose, if you guys choose not to move forward with the project, a great way of doing that is not to approve this, because this will kill it.
Before I say we stop, I'm still inclined to want to proceed, but we need to know how long the ball of string is, so by all means, keep going. Do the work, find out.
Okay, any questions of the?
And you would bring the grant back to us once it's completed and ready for submission?
Yes. And I'll have a lot more information at that point. This is just kind of the preliminary exploratory type phase.
Any other questions?
No, this money is set aside, no, Mike, we had that money, so
We
we
do.
don't have, we have it all.
We have it all.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion? Motion to allow Mike to proceed, submit the bikes and pedestrian grant.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Are we approving that the manager submit the grant or prepare the grant?
Prepare. It's my understanding.
Mine too.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Move on, Mike.
Unless you have any other questions on the rest of those articles, there's nothing. And I did put a couple things on the back of this. The compost, this is some of the propaganda for the compost. And then the copy of the PFAS, or PFOAS, in trash. This is something that our water districts are dealing with now. These contaminants, if it gets in the water, is going to be expensive, and they test for parts per trillion, not parts per billion. And it was, firefighter foam was one of the things that was that's where a lot of this contamination came from. But now, you saw in the trash, it's talking about things our furniture is made from, these chemicals, and I don't know how it's gonna impact us, but at the transfer station, but since we're already doing the stormwater and engineering, some stuff up there, I'd like to include that in the conversation of runoff from that area where our bins are, to account for this. It may be nothing, maybe just not an issue, but while the money's being spent, I'd rather incorporate in there now and get an answer rather than have to deal with it later.
Could stuff like that, even in traceable amounts, leach from our bulky bin or anything like that?
That's what I want to find out. I mean, if it's being washed off this stuff and then washed down into the ditch, and then goes over into the brook, is it feasible that it could happen or possible? I'd like to include it in there. We're already doing the study.
So the roof over those two bins would help
Certainly
reduce
would.
that, which was part of the plan anyways.
Yeah, at this point, certainly would.
Wasn't for that reason, but.
Yeah, I think that's,
Benefit.
excuse me.
No, go ahead, I'm done.
I believe that point is made in the Rutland Herald article, that some of the source is the furniture and other bulky items, last paragraph on the first page there.
That's why I brought to you guys' attention, because we're gonna probably deal with it, at least a discussion about it. It may be a big, nothing, but I'd like to at least have that conversation with the engineers and the water quality folks.
Anything else for Mike on that? That takes care of it, Mike?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Moving on to warrants for approval.
You missed select board comments and concerns.
Pardon?
You missed select board comments and concerns.
I did? Uh-oh. Let's back up then. I'm sorry. My apologies. Select board comments? Zach? No. Concerns? No. Dick?
I'm good.
Bob?
Yeah, I got quite a few things.
All right, start with number one.
Number one, Mike, I'm looking for the dollar figure in the formula for the monies charged to Hubbardton for our transfer station. Melanie says there's some kind of formula, and she got it from some select board or something, so I want to see the dollar figure that we charge them and the formula that she uses to get to that. I would like to know what select board it came from, too.
Let me catch up with you.
There's a dollar figure that we charge the town of Hubbardton for our transfer station use of it.
And what select board?
Yeah, she said she got the formula from some select board. What year select board was that?
I remember having that similar conversation with the town accountant last year, and it was quite a few years ago that number was.
I've seen the
arrived.
formula sheet, but I don't know where it came from, but I'll find out.
Okay.
It's been around a
Okay.
while.
You know anything about the heavy equipment on the rail trail in town? What they're
Yeah.
up to?
They're upgrading the rail trail from Rupert to,
Here,
past here, but,
Past here.
yeah, they're putting a different surface down on it, and it's supposed to be done this year. So they've already started, Markowski's, I think, was the stuff that was on there.
Yeah, yeah.
They're already starting to work. They started down south already. So it's gonna go right on through and resurface the rail trail with a different, more, makes it more accessible to bikes and stuff like that, so,
Harder surface or something?
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know they were, I'm sorry, I didn't know that they were, I saw the equipment down there too, but I didn't see it be working yet, so.
Yeah. They've been doing stuff down by the Staso Road. I seen the equipment out there.
ELCT.
I think there was an email about that about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw an email, I think it came from either you or
I just
VLCT.
know they were in town, like, starting to work. Yeah.
Okay,
I saw the smoke detector thing on the news this morning. Who monitors that? They're, like the rental properties, it's required, who does that? Is somebody from town or somebody from the state or?
The Vermont Division of Fire Safety is responsible for those rental properties. If you were to call the Vermont Division of Fire Safety, they will tell you they're about 10 years behind.
That was my next question. How often do they go around and check? I mean,
Unless there's a sale of a property, or there's, it's forcing someone to go in there, they're routine checks, they're really behind. And it's a manpower issue. One of the things that the fire department can do is things that aren't governed by the Division of Fire Safety, so single resident, if somebody owns their home, it's not a rental property, we can go in there, do an assessment with them, help them. We can replace their smoke detectors, we can replace their carbon monoxide detectors, and do home fire safety planning, like evacuation plans, et cetera. We could do that kind of stuff for rental properties. We can't change smoke or carbon monoxide detectors, but.
In the rental properties, you can't.
Yeah. One of the things that it came up, it was in an article in the Vermont Herald, and I made a phone call to Department of Health, saying that the health officers, because I think Rutland Town, Terrazini, was in there quoted, that their budget wouldn't take this, wasn't prepared to have this increased workload. But when I called, they said it's not a law yet. It's not something that's current. It's something that they've been talking about, but it all comes down to manpower, money. So they wanted to have health officers start doing like certificates of occupancy and stuff like that. So they're more to follow right now, but it's not a law right now. But they are behind. They're not doing routine checks.
Okay.
They'll also do checks on any complaint on a rental property.
Sure.
They'll
Fire marshal
react.
do that.
But as far as scheduling goes, they're not out there. They'll react to any issues that a health officer or a fire department finds. They will investigate it.
Question for you, Dick and Mike. Have you guys ever thought of doing like a training thing during the fire week, safety week, over to the fire station, getting with one of these fire detector companies, and maybe they could offer a little reduced rate on these fire detectors and put on a little program for the kids and just show them what they do in a fire? Have you guys ever considered doing that?
They do
over to
it
the fire station?
the week that,
You could do that?
yeah, during the fire safety week, if the trailer's available, that has smoke detectors in there,
Oh, okay.
part of the training. Again, it's not highly publicized yet, but between the American Red Cross and a company that I got the CO detectors through, we can do that to anybody that reaches out to us.
Oh, okay.
So it's been posted on social media. If you want us, call us, kind of thing.
There hasn't been a lot of response yet, but
It's
it's there.
6 people so far.
Because they're pretty expensive. I mean,
Well, and a lot of people just don't understand how much of a difference those things can make.
yeah,
I mean, they can make a big difference on whether someone lives or dies if there's a
exactly.
smoky fire in their house.
Well, it was proven up on, there was recently, the Division of Fire Safety came down, did an interview with Chief Goyette on that incident and talked about sprinkler systems, whether it's on a commercial building or about new construction, putting in a home sprinkler system. Statistics prove that it'll keep that fire, at least in the room, contained in the room or starting.
Sure.
Are you talking about the 12-year-old boy and his little sister up here?
Correct.
That was, I don't know if you were aware of that one, Bob, just up the road from your house. They had a smoking wood stove, something got stuck and it was filling the house full of smoke. And the kids were, mom and dad had left for work and the kids were there. They're old enough to take care of themselves for the hour before the bus gets there.
Sure.
And they were just waiting for the bus and the house started filling up with smoke, so they did everything they were supposed to do. Got the dog, left the house, the only thing they did do was lock the door. But they, which made it a little hard for us.
They made sure they closed the door.
But they made sure they closed the door, and they went to the neighbor's house like they were supposed to, and told the neighbors they had a problem, called 911, we came. Fortunately, the house wasn't burning because the door was locked, so we went and got a key instead of busting the door down.
Sure.
And, made sure the stove was put out, removed the fire from the stove and blew the smoke out of the house, and everyone was fine. But the bottom line is, the kids did exactly what they were supposed to do. If that house had been burning, they wouldn't have been injured.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you got next, Bob?
This is actually for the police chief, and he's not here tonight, but I want to just reiterate, I'd like a written rundown of the different liquor control, liquor license classes, just an explanation for it,
Okay, yeah.
He struggled with it a little bit when I asked him here the other night, and that's rightfully so. I mean, if we can just get and then I'd like to see another police department roster, the name, the hire date, and if they're full-time or part-time, just to try to keep up with that.
Just so you know, if you don't know, one of the new police officers that were just hired dropped out of the academy on day 1. So we're back to, we have one police officer in training right now, and the one that Melissa that I hired for the part-time is now going to be going to the full-time class in the fall. So we're down, when this class graduates, we're only gonna, if this gentleman makes it all the way through, we'll have one new police officer, not two.
And he'll be full-time?
He'd be full-time, yeah.
Next, Bob.
No, that's enough.
That's it.
Yeah.
Joe.
Well, I didn't have this on my mind, but thanks to Bob, I wanted to ask about our college rentals. Obviously, we have a large number of university students that rent in town, and if my memory serves, there are really principally three large property owners who do the vast majority of the rentals. I wonder if it would be appropriate to try to begin a dialogue between our fire department and those key renters around the issue of fire safety in their apartments, because I'm sure the university would be interested in participating in anything that would make those environments safer for their students.
Good.
With the chief. It's, I know we engage when the university comes back, we engage they're not called RAs or HAs, what they're called, what are they called now? TAs or something?
CAs.
TAs. So the TAs are
Oh,
engaged.
C, as in,
Oh, C, Charlie?
Community.
CAs. What do they call, what's CA stand for then?
mhm.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, sorry.
That's all right. I know.
Community advisor.
Are they community advisors?
Community
They're
advisors.
CAs, I know that.
So we do catch them, but we're not getting the rental, the property owners, and then if they want us to go in and talk, because I know that it is quite alarming when you go into a lot of these residences, that you can tell they're not aware of the threats that are around them, because they have candles burning with clothes next to them, or, you know, it's crazy what is found during a routine smoke alarm activation call. And I've said it before, we don't have a building inspector, and you know, a lot of that stuff, like if you were doing certificates of occupancy, a lot of it would be caught early probably, but we don't have that capacity, so it's through outreach at this point.
I did have one more thing. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna add to if it makes anyone feel better, I've had interactions with two of those three landlords recently, and anytime there's been a problem identified, they're very quick to get it fixed, to take care of it.
Okay, anything else?
I had just the
Oh,
one
I'm
thing.
sorry, go ahead, Bob.
In regards to the crosswalks, Mike, I've noticed that several colleges that I've been to recently, they have these strobe lights. They're about 2 or 3 feet and about that wide, and they put them right to the poles.
Yeah.
They really work, and work good.
That
I don't know
was-
how expensive they are, but,
I have the price, you don't even want to know.
oh, okay.
But
Well, a lot of colleges are doing those. I've seen them all over the place.
that was for that TAP grant for the sidewalks and the crosswalks. That's the discussion that we had, was what devices to go in there, and those are the industry standard, if you want to call it that. So that will be brought up here shortly, once we find out about that grant.
Okay.
But that's, because they have stop lights for the pedestrian, like flashes, and then you got the large strobes on the poles for the vehicular traffic, so.
Get your attention, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep,
But that's
Kinda like
what we,
that.
that's what we talked about when we first met.
perfect.
Anything else? Oh, just one thing, I believe at the last meeting, there was discussion of having a meeting or portion of a meeting to discuss solid waste, the SWAC, and Rutland County Solid Waste District. If, with your approval, we'd like to try and schedule it for the next meeting at 6:30. So we would allow 6:30 to 7 for discussion of that, and then we'd have our regular meeting at 7 o'clock.
Mr. Chairman, that's not gonna work because we got a sewer commissioner meeting at 6:30 at the next meeting.
Well, Mike said that they'd be willing to come in at another meeting, so that would take care of that.
Oh,
I talked to Wayne, and they can
Okay.
push it to another meeting.
okay.
That
I think
okay?
that sounds good.
Okay. Bob, Mike? Or
You know, I won't be around, so.
Oh, that's right. That's
But-
right, you'll be.
But if you guys do
you'll
your
be in the-
homework,
You'll be in
I'm
the
sure.
tundra.
Surfing, I
I'm sure as
think.
long as the homework's done, we'll be all set.
Zach, that okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay, I guess we'll schedule it.
Okay, so for the 24th. I did have one, I missed something for Bob. I did look into the light switches, about replacing them. It'd be, to replace the light switches except for the ones in the hallways, it would be about $300. And I've asked to look into what it costs if a light stays on for 15 minutes or so, to look at the cost associated with that. I haven't gotten an answer yet on that one, but I did get an answer from Danny Gray. It'd be about $300 to replace the wall switches. And I also asked him to come in, I asked Karen to ask him to come in to look at these and see if there's any adjustments to them, 'cause I told there's not. So.
That was, I didn't bring it up, but they were on Friday night, they were on again Saturday morning.
Yep.
In Karen's office is a big culprit, your office is always on.
That's because it's cold in there.
Oh, okay.
The
And there's usually one or
the
two of
only
these
It's the
little
heat,
lights.
it's
you
the
know.
heat that
I just-
triggers.
Well, what triggered
And I've
me?
had people say,
kidding.
what are the lights doing on at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah,
It's,
you're right.
it's not a good message.
No.
No, it's not. I'm sick of,
So I
Explaining it.
I looked into it, so.
Yeah.
I know the approximate.
gotta be
cost.
something, Mike. I mean, we're not the only ones that have these automatic switches.
No,
I mean,
no, really.
We
Okay,
had a fire alarm at the college last night, and this room was on when I left.
sure.
anything else? Now we'll move on to warrants.
Okay, you ready, boss?
I'm done ready. Yes, sir.
Make a warrant, we approve purchase order number 0210 for $78,186.39. Warrant number 0206 for $23,309.08. Warrant number 0131 for $6,030.94. Warrant number 0206P for $15,956.42. And warrant 0130P for $15,459.38.
Second.
Okay. Motion to second. Any discussion? Seeing none? Hearing none? All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Okay, we got two more.
recuse myself from these.
Yep.
I'll make a motion, we approve warrant number 0207P for $678.15, and warrant number 0131P for $678.15.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Either we can talk about it tonight, or you can talk about it some other day.
Some other day.
And please do so.
Should have seven, Zach.
Six, seven.
Okay. Any need for an executive session? You're not, you're shaking your head
Yes.
no?
You wish. Yes, personnel.
What's your personnel?
Personnel.
Make a motion that we go into executive session with the board and the town manager at 7:50.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.